January 23rd, 2014 meeting for the planning board is now in session. Mr. Secretary, roll call, please.
Sir, Mr. Hurt? Mr. Moore?
Here.
Ms. Drago?
Here.
Ms. Washington? Here. Mr. Hoitzma? Mr. Davis? Excuse me. Mr. Neal?
Here.
Mr. Barhu?
Present.
Mr. Benedict? Mr. Harper?
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Is there any addition? Well, there is no corrections. We don't have of the minutes. We'll skip the minutes.
Okay. We're going to skip the minutes. We have
December 19th? There was one draft.
Did you want to complete a copy?
For December 19th. Approval of minutes for December 19th.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion we approve the minutes with the necessary changes, should there be any.
Second.
It's been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The public, if there's anyone here to speak on behalf of an item, please fill out the green sheet. Also, we have at this time a new member of our planning board. You heard the name call. That's Mrs. Pat Drago. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. Lots to learn.
Okay. We also have an additional one, but Mr. Bennett is not here tonight, so we'll get the chance to introduce him when we have our next meeting. Items 6, 7, and 8. I understand that they're asking for a continuance. Can I get a motion on that?
So it was just two. I thought it was 6 and 7 only.
If we just move them up on the agenda and then take each one individually and have a motion for each one.
Item 6.
Yeah, there is a letter in your package on 6 and 7 from the applicants, and 8 has also asked.
Oh, I did? Okay.
I make a motion we move item number 6, preliminary plat, Williamson Business Park, DEV 2013-128, quasi-judicial hearing. Move that for continuance.
To the February, if we could,
We're gonna
the
start
February meeting,
February
right.
meeting.
It's
To
a
the February-
30-month continuance, right?
What's the date?
Yes.
in February?
27th.
27.
February 27th meeting.
Second.
It's been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item number 6 has been approved. Number 7, please.
Make a motion that we continue item number 7, special use permit, Our Lady of Lourdes, until the February meeting. Is that? Yes,
February
27.
27.
27.
It's been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item number 8.
Item number 8, rezoning, planned redevelopment district, Screamers Park, DEV 2013-100, quasi-judicial hearing. I make a motion that we move.
Hold on one second. Since that one didn't have a memo in here asking for the continuance, I'd like Reed to represent what
Okay.
we know.
All right, Mr. Berger.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Thank you for the opportunity. What I'm going to do is, if I could ask the applicant to come up earlier this week, we received some email correspondence requesting a continuance, so we did ask them to appear and make a formal request before you. Okay?
Okay.
Steve Buswell with Parker Minchenberg and Associates. We're the engineer of record, 1729 Ridgewood Avenue, Holly Hill, Florida. The applicant has asked us to request continuance. We are planning on removing one of the rides and adding some additional parking, and we're not at a position where we could present it. We'd like staff to review it, so we hereby request continuance.
Okay.
Any questions?
Is it just till February, or?
As soon as, we're working on the drawing. I actually have it, but it's not in a position where staff has seen it. So as soon as we can get with them to review and confirm and may possibly update their
Okay.
staff report, we'd like to continue till February, yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Secretary? Next item,
Oh,
please.
no, we need a motion on that
Right.
now.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'll make a motion.
Another motion.
Item number 8, rezoning planned redevelopment district, Screamers Park, DEV 2013-100, quasi-judicial hearing. I make a motion that we move this for continuance till February 27th. What,
Second.
7th?
27th.
Oh,
Last second.
thank you.
There's been motion and second. All in favor?
Next. Aye.
All opposed? Now we may continue. Ms. Secretary,
Okay.
next item, please.
Item number 4, comprehensive sign plan amendment, Bethune-Cookman University, DEV 2013-102. And for this item, before we start, we have on record 2 forms for conflict of interest, myself and Mr. Tim Davis.
Oh, his is for a different item, so,
thought it was for this
yeah. His was for Screamers.
Okay. Well, I'm the only one,
Yes,
okay?
we accept.
Thank you.
Staff?
Good evening. I'm Jason Jeffries with the Redevelopment Office. As was stated, this is a request by Bethune-Cookman University to amend their comprehensive sign plan to essentially make 2 changes to the plan that was approved just in 2013. Get the presentation to work. There it goes. Basically, there's 2 things they're doing. One is on the existing EMC sign on West ISB, which is on the major thoroughfare. They want to be able to permit graphics on that sign. And then the second request is to replace an existing internal campus sign on the campus that has a message, just a manual messaging system, or to allow electronic message center on that sign and replace it. So basically what you have in your packet is the entire comprehensive plan, and you'll see in red underlined is the changes they're making to their plan. This is the sign that is on West ISB, which basically, again, their only change is to allow EMC graphics on that sign. The sign's not moving like that. Oh. And this is a representation of the internal, what they're referring to as a campus EMC sign, which meets all the standards except for it does exceed the 8-foot maximum height. It exceeds the maximum display area, and then, of course, they want to be able to put graphics on that sign. I think just for clarification, I think it's made a little confusing to understand where exactly the sign is. This sign is located internal to the campus. You see this, the area in yellow. Here's the blow up of the area, and it's right there. You see it's in the center of the campus, surrounded by buildings. The Midtown Redevelopment Board does recommend approval. The applicant does have representation here to answer any of your questions.
Any questions for staff?
Oh, and I'm sorry, the one thing I want to be able to point out, clarify, as part of the amendments, there are certain modifications to the sign standards where they don't comply with the standards in Article 18, Section 6.20. Those are all listed on page 3 of the staff report. So just to make sure you're aware of those modifications they are requesting.
Thank you.
Are you comfortable with those? Okay.
I'm going to explain this. Bear with me.
I'm just curious if you're getting hazardous duty pay or something.
I wish. Is somebody going to throw something at me? For the record, Rob Merrill with Cobb Cole Law Firm. My new address is 149 South Ridgewood Avenue, right here in downtown. We've moved across the street. If you haven't noticed, the new Cobb Cole Center, which is just about a half a block south of here. And you'll notice we have a beautiful illuminated sign on both sides of the building as you drive out tonight. Take a look at it. I'm here on behalf of the great Bethune-Cookman University. And I have Pam Brown, General Counsel, here with me, I'm sorry, and Chuck Cameron from Central Science to answer any questions you might have for them. But I want to start by saying some of you weren't here when this original plan, I think, was approved. I'm not sure who wasn't here, but I want to take just a minute to explain to you because we've done several of these comprehensive sign plans, and those of you who are here are familiar with these and the concept of them. Halifax Hospital has one, the Speedway has one, Embry-Riddle has one, and these larger institutions like Bethune-Cookman and the others that I've mentioned are unique in the sense that you can't really do a cookie-cutter sign code that applies to something as expansive and different as those institutions. So I bet it was 5, 6, 7 years ago we changed the land development code so that those larger institutions had an opportunity to come forward with a comprehensive plan for signage. And the result of that was, I think, very positive. I think the Planning Board and the Commission and the staff have recognized it as such because they came forward with things that produced common themes and more aesthetically pleasing as well as more organized plans for how to do signs. And this is one of those. So I'm not going to get into all the intricacies and the details of the plan itself, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you. This is a relatively straightforward amendment that has two components to it, as Jason outlined for you. And it's supported by the staff, and I think in answer to your question, Bob, we have a positive staff report in their support, as well as the unanimous approval from the Midtown Redevelopment Board. And I think they both represent very positive changes. So I'm going to take a few minutes and go through the. Did you guys, everybody, get a copy of the handout? We have a PowerPoint version of it too, but I prefer to use the paper because I think you can see the detail a little bit better. If you look at the first page, actually the second page there, that shows you the existing sign that's in front of the Performing Arts Center on ISB. The first page. I'm sorry, the first page that shows a picture, which would be the second page. And if you look at the page after that, the third page, it's just another variation on it. And the theme that I'm trying to show you here is the existing comprehensive sign plan and the code, unless it's wavered from by the comprehensive sign plan, says you can only have two colors on the sign and all you can put is words. You can't put any pictures. I want to be clear to you tonight, and I know that some of you have seen, and as we went through this process 2 years ago to amend the code to deal with electronic signs, we talked a lot about the appearance of the signs, both aesthetically and their potential to distract people who are driving down the road. One of the things that you've seen in other communities, and some very close to us here, is moving signs, things that move and potentially distract people. That's not what we're talking about here. If you look at the next page, you'll see an example, and I have a couple of these. You'll see an example of what we're talking about, something that has multiple colors, has some design to it, more aesthetically pleasing, I think, than just words with two colors on the screen. And as you flip through the following 2 or 3 pages, Twitter, I'm not sure how that all works, but that's what that next one is. And again, even the one with Bethune-Cookman University with the insignia on it, because of the fact that there are 3 colors there, and there's an insignia that's considered a graphic, this amendment is necessary to allow that. So that's what we're asking for in terms of the first request. Again, static pictures, nothing moving, and multiple colors, which I think brings forward a better appearance, which is one of the purposes, I think, of the sign code to start with. This page here shows you a picture of that sign that Jason was referring to that's internal to the campus. It's over behind Whitehall, essentially on the pedestrian boulevard that goes back to the Student Center, and it's something that messages need to get to students through this sign. And unfortunately, when you use this old-fashioned plastic letter sign, you get one message, however many times you're willing to go pull those letters off. So if you look at the next page after that, you get an example. This is a rendering, of course, because the sign doesn't exist. But it's essentially a replacement in place with the same dimensions, with the sign that's there, with something that's got an LED screen on it so that you can change the message. And this is just an example, of course, and it's going to be changing with the frequency that's allowed by the code so that the students can get multiple messages as they walk back and forth across this area. Again, I think we were very cautious in even asking for this because it's arguable whether it's even visible from the road, which is what constitutes a sign. If you can't see it from the road, it's not a regulated sign at all. In this one, we probably could have moved so it was clearly not visible from the road, but then it wouldn't be as visible to the students who are walking back and forth from the pedestrian area that we're putting it, or that we're replacing it. So that's the reason for the second one. Again, I think resulting in something that's a better sign from a functional standpoint and from an aesthetic standpoint, which again I think is entirely in line with the purpose and intent of the sign code. That last page there just shows you another aerial like the one Jason showed you of the location of it. As you can see, it's for the most part surrounded by buildings. There's a little window that if you stopped your car on the road and looked in, you could see it. So that's the reason why we even included it in the request tonight. And that's really all I have for you, and that's about as long as I can stand up. So if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Are there any questions for the applicant, please?
Yes, on the changing of the signs, it still will meet code as far as the frequency of change. that
It
you're
will,
talking
yes. The only variations from the code, I'm sorry, Bob, I meant to make this part of my response to you, to your question to Jason. The only reason for the variances is because both of these signs are existing signs, and unless we wanted to start all over, especially with the one that we've already spent a great deal of money on ISB, we couldn't meet all the dimensional requirements. And, frankly, I think those of you who were here will remember when we came through the process of amending the code to try to address these electronic signs, I said that clearly to everybody as we came through this. I said, I know I've got some here that aren't going to meet these. I want to tell you right up front so you think I'm pulling a hoodwink on you here. And this is one of them that I mentioned. I think I even showed a picture of the existing sign.
Okay.
Okay.
I also want to say, I sit on the Midtown Redevelopment Board, and this was brought to us, and we unanimously, it'll come out. Anyway, we all voted for it. Yeah, I'll get there. And so we approved it. Again, some of the questions I had at that particular board was about having two light-up signs within a certain restricted area. We understood all that passed, so the board approved it, and I think it will be great for our community and great for the college, university.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir. Board?
You want to hear from the audience, see what anybody in favor?
No, not just yet. I have a tendency to get ahead of myself. Any questions from public with any concerns? For or against? Okay, board? Questions or comments?
I'll make a motion that we approve comprehensive sign plan modification DEB 2013-102 as based on the recommendations of staff.
Second.
It's been motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
I can't count you again. Anyone against? Thank you. So the motion carries. Item number 5, please.
Item number 5, large-scale comprehensive plan amendment, Midwest Transit, DEV 2013-105.
Can we hear from staff, please?
Good evening, Elizabeth Matei, Senior Planner. This is a... Nope. Yeah, I'm trying,
Go ahead.
okay. Okay. So request for approval of a large-scale comprehensive plan map amendment to change the future land use map designation from Level 1 residential, interchange commercial, and retail to mixed use for approximately 158.3 acres of land generally located at the northwest corner of US 92 International Speedway Boulevard and Tomoka Farms Road, and also amending Neighborhood Policy U, adding Issue L, Policy 1, to regulate the maximum units of individual land uses that can be allowed. The location map is on your screen, and then we also have an aerial for an overview. And then you also have these maps in your packet, and it continues with the land use, the current future land use, and the proposed future land use. And then we've also added, there's going to be a PMD rezoning that will follow at a later date. But for clarity, we've also included the zoning maps to show the proposed rezoning for the property that'll encompass the entire property. And it is consistent with the comprehensive plan. It does not represent urban sprawl, and there will be a decrease in demand on water, sewer, and traffic. And again, it's amending Neighborhood Policy U issues, and staff recommends approval based on the analysis and review and the information provided by the applicant, and with the development restrictions that will be put in place by the proposed policy, and it appears to meet the criteria for the comprehensive plan. And staff supports the applicant's proposed amendment, and the planning board members are required to recommend approval of this policy matter.
Any questions of staff?
I was just kind of troubled by one word on your recommendation that says that the neighborhood you issue and policy appears
Microphone,
to
please.
meet criteria. What do you mean by that?
Yes, based on
Appears.
what has been presented so far.
Okay.
Because there'll be further analysis done as it progresses through the process.
I have a question. It says the neighborhood U, okay, and it defines it. It says a minimum of 12% and maximum of 30% total area designated and as mixed use within the combine of neighborhood K, S, T, and U. You mentioned something about an L. What does that involve, and does that require more space or more percentage of the land?
Okay, the amendment also includes a text amendment to Neighborhood Policy U. And so on page 2, it shows at the bottom of page 2 of the report, the underlined document. And then the policy.
I saw that.
That's supposed to have, it's Policy 1 under.
Right, on page 6, it also says under, it's I, letter I. So is that I guess the criteria for that, or the request in an exemption or addition or changes in that?
Those are existing.
Or those are existing?
And we're
from
saying
12 to-
that they are compatible with the comprehensive plan
Okay.
policies that already exist.
Okay. Thought you had said something in the opening. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, just learning. Okay, just a question, as I understand, the parcel, the size is amended so that the protection for the Tomoka River it stays in place, and the parcel is actually smaller than the master parcel, so that that the conservation, et cetera, for the Tomoka River is in place. Am I understanding that correctly? Okay, okay, so the buffer's there. Just wanted to make sure I understood that. And then one other question is for, along that area, if there are, and I don't know, if there are major specimen oak trees, is there protection as it goes, at what phase in the development is that recognized? I guess that's the question that I would have in the development process.
The applicant will address your question for you. Any other questions for staff? Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Again, Rob Merrill with Cobb Cole, 149 South Ridgewood, here for the applicant. Mike Witters of Midwest Transit, the owners of the property. Pat, I intended to address those things as I went through this, so if you don't mind, I'll do that
Okay,
as I talk
all
about
right,
it.
and once again, this is my first.
No, those are both very good questions, and I know you are actually very experienced at this, and you can't pretend you're not.
Okay.
So I'm happy to answer those questions. I guess I'll start with that. Let me start by saying that Elizabeth gave you in the second to last illustration in the package, this picture right here. And I intended to make sure I focused on that a little bit more with you, because when you look at the area in orange, that's the current and future land use on the left and the proposed future land use on the right. When you look at the area that's in orange, all of that is outside of the area that's currently designated as conservation. When I'm back here next month or the month after, probably the month after, with the Plan Master Development rezoning for this that corresponds to this, it's going to include the entire acreage that's within the black boundary. However, we did not include all of the area in the conservation and the future land use, just to remove all doubt that we would be compliant with all of the conservation goals, objectives, and policies that pertain to that area as we move forward with the PD and the development. With respect to the trees on the property, again, in terms of hardwoods that are protected, either specimen trees or as historic trees, we'll be addressing those things in the PMD, but I don't see any intention or know of any intention of taking down anything that's historic. And to the extent anything specimen, we'll comply with the ordinance as it relates to that. There's a lot of planted pine on this property too.
I noticed that.
Yeah, so when you see this kind of property and Consolidated has a lot of that kind of planted pine. Historically, what developers have done is, that planted pine was planted because it's like a flower that you can sell, and
Right.
they take them and sell the pine. So that's probably what will happen with the pine trees. But as far as the hardwoods, they're covered under the ordinance, and we'll treat them as such. So.
Thank you.
Let me just say that some of you who watched us go through the comp plan amendment and then the plan master development rezoning process for the property that you now see being some clearing being done across from Halifax Hospital, this is the exact same process. So if you remember the questions that came up about that, it's a little bit complicated, and I'm happy to stand and go through each of those, maybe if I have to, each of those questions that you might have about it. But essentially what's being done here is, much like in the Halifax property, we're changing it from a very one or two dimensional set of uses that are permitted under the land use to a very multi-dimensional set of uses. And as we've talked about smart growth here in the last 8 or 10 years, we've talked a lot about implementing those types of policies, mixtures of uses that complement each other, so someone doesn't necessarily have to get in a car to go from one use to another. The apartment buildings might be right near the office buildings, so they can walk to work or ride a bicycle, or the shopping might be close enough that they can walk or ride a bicycle. Internalizing, capturing trips is one of the benefits. Making it walkable is another. But having things complement each other and not separating everything has been the new planning thinking for quite some time now. So both the Halifax property where we came in and changed the designation and this one represent, I think, bringing forward that concept. And that's why you see the staff being very supportive of this. And I appreciate their report and their recommendation to you tonight. The business about the limitations in the text that were referred to, that's where the complication comes in, because the way it was done, I'm going to try to make it as straightforward as possible the way I understand it, and to the extent that you want to drill down into either the utility-based restrictions or the transportation-based restrictions, I have experts here to talk to you about that if you like. But essentially, just like the hospital, what we said was we wanted to look at what was allowed under the land use on the left side of the page, in terms of both transportation impacts, cars that could be generated based on development of the property, and impacts on the water system and the sewer system. Those are all calculated based on the way it could be developed, the way it is now. And what we did was, in Halifax, we said, we're willing to reduce that by 10%. In other words, we're trying to say, we want to make it very clear that we're going to do less than we're allowed to do now in terms of overall impacts as it relates to transportation, water, and sewer, which are the main infrastructure things we look at when we're trying to find out whether something's going to have external impacts that need to be accounted for. So what we did in this case is we went even further and said, based on the basically the characteristics of this property in terms of what could be built there, we said we don't think there's any way we could build more than 80% of what's allowed now. So we reduced it by 20%. So with that matrix that you see, I'm going to get you to the right page, because you started asking questions about the text.
Page 3.
The matrix that starts on page 3 and the language that you see there on page 3 is very similar to what we put in the comprehensive plan for the hospital. It does exactly what I said. You see there's a lot of numbers and a lot of equations and things there, but ultimately what it does is it says that there's going to be a cap for each of these types of uses that you see in the left-hand column. That's either based on utility impacts or transportation impacts, whichever trips you up first. And that presents a cap for each of those uses. And the reason why it's done in a matrix like this is because there's going to be a combination of the uses. So you have to find out what portion of the cap you've already used. If, for instance, you built an office complex there and you came in a year later and wanted to build apartments, you've already used up some of your capacity based on the apartments, and you have to figure out by this text, by this matrix, how much and what you have left in terms of your cap. So that's why it's multidimensional. But essentially it comes down to, and if you look at the language up above, the cap is based on a total maximum of daily trips and a maximum of gallons per day of sewage. That's what it comes down to.
Okay.
So I hope I didn't mix you up, but that's what we're doing here. And thankfully, we've already done this once. It's been successful. It's as I mentioned, the Halifax Hospital proposal went through all of the state agencies and such, and the Growth Management Commission, and everybody thought it was a good idea. So we're basically copying it here.
It's good.
Any questions?
Any other questions, or any questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir. You may retire to your seat. Anybody in public wish to speak for or against? Board? Open for discussion? Discussion. This is good. Then may we entertain a motion, please?
I make a motion that we approve a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment DV 2013-105 Midwest Transit Inc.
Second.
It's been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Gosh, you see how quickly you got through tonight with the crutches?
I'm going to try this again.
That's what I figured.
You didn't have to tap dance tonight, did you?
Okay. All right. Next item.
Downtown Belleau Road Redevelopment Area Board Report. There is no report. We did not meet due to insufficient information for an agenda.
My. All right. Lost my
Midtown
list.
Redevelopment Board?
Yes.
Midtown Redevelopment Board, area board meeting, Tuesday, January 14th at 6 o'clock. We met, had a list of items. The police department gave the ComStat report on statistics and annual review of statistics. They also changed the ComStat meeting to Thursdays, every other Thursday at 3:30 on the second floor of the police department. There was some exciting stuff the police department was doing, trying to get updated with the computerized system where they'll have real-time crime centers, and they'll be able to, for instance, if a police officer is on the way to a call, they'll be able to tell whether this person have a concealed weapon, whether this person lives, gives all the history and background, really some nice crime-fighting technologies that's coming to us. So we discussed that. We looked at the Miller's Project. We also discussed the Dollar General that's going to be on ISB, and we had adjournment after that. So very productive meeting.
Thank you. Main Street, anybody yet? Okay. Public comments. Anyone in the public wish to speak?
Mr. Public's not here.
Mr. Public's not here.
No, it's not.
Staff comments?
One thing I wanted to introduce, we have a brand-new employee, started with us today, Mary Ann. She's our new planning technician. She joins us from Flagler County and worked up there doing a similar position, and actually was promoted to the county manager's office, but decided that she'd rather work for us. So we're thrilled to have her, and I think you'll enjoy working with her in the future.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard. All right. We got elections of officers.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to make a point here. We have one of our people out tonight. We have two new people, one of which is not here.
Right.
And I think it's unfair to ask our other new member to be voting on something like this here tonight. And I wonder if it wouldn't be all right for us to put this off a month or two until we get a little bit behind this and get this, so we can move forward. Yeah, I just feel like it's, like we're not quite ready for this tonight.
What was that?
There's not any prohibition for doing that, if that's the
Okay,
board's
so there's
wishes.
no prohibition to do that.
Is there
Oh,
one
the
board,
one-
though,
the
isn't
one-
the Main Street
yeah,
board?
Yeah,
though?
I would like for us to at least find a appointment to the Main Street Board, and I can let you know, when Mr. Hurt called me to let you know he couldn't come, he volunteered that if no one else wanted it, he would do that. He is on the...
I think we should take him
Usually if you don't show up.
I'll leave that up to the board, I just wanted to pass that on.
I think it landed on the right ear. So,
Do we need to vote on that or not?
I'll formally nominate Mr. Jeff Hurd.
I second that.
all right, it's been nominated and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
We don't want to.
I didn't think so. Well, that's good.
Rich just said that he called and said that he would.
He would do
Oh, he
it.
did, because he told me he didn't want to.
Uh-oh.
He told me if we didn't have someone else that...
Oh, I thought you meant for the board.
For the Main Street.
Main
Okay,
Street.
not for the
Main Street.
That's
Main
not what
Street.
you're talking about. Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
Nominations, next. Election of officers. First, we'll vote on the chair.
We're gonna wait.
We said we.
Wait, since we're missing some people.
Since we're missing some people. I can't wait to get this over with. Okay then, with all being said and appointments being made,
So we'll just move that to the next agenda?
next
The-
agenda.
Okay.
And of course, now, board comments.
A swift meeting? Let's not prolong it.
I'm trying not
My
to.
goodness.
Works well.
You got something to say?
No,
Oh, okay.
nothing to say.
Well, with nothing being added, we consider it adjourned.